Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. How about this for a business success story? In 2016, Tristan Sternson sold his data and analytics business, InfoReady, to a company that became Digital and Tech Services Group, ARQ. After a few years away, Tristan came back to ARQ, taking over as CEO in 2019 when the company was making a marginal profit. Now, in 2022, he's transformed the business and it's just been acquired for $290 million by NCS, a subsidiary of Singtel. It's not bad at all for somebody who started out writing code. Tristan Sternson, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thanks, Sean. And I should say I still do write code.
Do you? So I am absolutely envious of anyone that can write code. Is it hard?
It's like anything. If it's what you do, it's easy. If you're a footballer, you're good at football. If you're a cricketer, you're good at cricket. But if you try and cross sports, it's not always so easy. But it's just a natural. That's what I've been trained to do, and that's what I love to do.
Is that kind of when you finished school? Is that what you went into?
When I finished school, I wanted to get into tech because I finished back in 1997, and at the time, tech was a good place to be. And I wanted to be a business consultant. I did not know a thing about code, and just fell into it at university and found it quite easy.
Right. And do you still find it advantageous even today when you see stuff going on and you think, oh, that's actually a quick fix?
Sometimes you can also be a bit of a hindrance on people too when you say, oh, I know how it's done, this is how I do it. I'm not that old where I can say, oh, back in the old days we used to do it this way, because it wasn't the old days, but in the tech industry I'm like a 200-year-old because that's the way the industry moves.
Yeah, my old CEO was a journalist and I was a journalist, and the last thing you wanted was a CEO giving his advice on what should be done. Is it the same?
The running joke in our business is I always tell people I'm the number one coder in the business, and everyone's too polite to say no, but now they don't. They tell me about it, so it's all right.
Okay, look, let's get on to ARQ. It's really an exercise in building something fit for acquisition, but let's start with the background. What was the business like when you joined in 2019? How did it make money?
Yeah, so ARQ, we go by both ARQ and ARQ, but mostly ARQ. So we were a digital services business. It dates back actually 25 years because it's originally Melbourne IT, who were the first company to bring domain names to Australia and the internet. So we've always been the first at everything we do in digital tech. First websites, first mobile apps, first enterprise data analytics solutions. And that's always, our business was catering towards that top end, the ASX top 20, top government departments, etc. So coming back in 2019, we'd gone through a branding from Melbourne IT, which is the business that bought InfoReady, and then changed to ARQ in 2018. So it was actually a new brand for me to get used to, which was good. And I love the brand. It's awesome. But coming into an environment that really needed to focus on enterprise and high-end government enterprise digital tech, so mobile apps, web, cloud, data, AI, ML, all the cool, fun things that were kind of taking off in the market.
Okay, so what were the key changes? So you came in and did you introduce that shift? Was that you that made that strategic shift?
Yeah, no, we were doing that already. The key change that we made was we had two businesses and they're now separate businesses. So one's called Web Central, and that was focused on the small to medium market, so small businesses, and the other is ARQ. Web Central sells domain names, sells websites, etc. The business was very much run like a middle and mass market business.
Yep.
But we were focusing on enterprise customers. So, if we're going out to sell to a really big customer, I need to be involved in that. If it's a huge customer, like if we want to be talking to the C-levels at a Telstra or the C-levels at a bank or anything like that, we need our partners involved. Whereas in a middle and mass market business, it's very call center generated. So you don't get involved in that. And it was run that way. The executives who ran the business, that was their expertise, not on the enterprise side. So the changes we brought in day one was two things. Firstly, the culture of an enterprise business. And the second one was customer obsession, like really getting out there and talking to your customers. Back to me coding, like I know how to code. I know what they want. I want to talk to them about what they need to do and what they want and understand them in a bit more detail, which the previous executive didn't have as great an understanding of.
Stay with me, Tristan. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Tristan Sternson, CEO of ARQ Group. Okay, so Quadrant, the private equity group, was involved. Are they silent partners? I mean, I think we all hear about private equity and we often wonder whether they're good or bad. And in this instance, I'm just sort of your experience with a private equity owner or majority owner, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like how hands-on were they?
Yeah, good question. So I came in as the CEO of the public company when they were both still combined in 2019 in September. And then we split the companies early in 2020 and sold them in two directions. And we decided, like, I believed in the enterprise business. And I thought, well, if there's a way we could own it, well, we want to buy that business. So we got Quadrant involved. Because we were part owners, they were part owners, what we did was we actually shopped around to all different private equity firms. And what we wanted was a partner that would invest in our growth, but not try and tell us how to run our business, because we've been doing this for 20 plus years. We know how to run professional services businesses, and we knew what a great business it was. So we wanted to get their, we want some of their business nous, whereas we had the technical nous, and combine that together. So, you can see plenty of sitcoms on TV and stuff about, very aggressive private equity firms with shiny suits and, young people telling you what to do. This was the complete opposite. It was a real partnership of, their strengths were helping us put in platforms and financials and stuff like that, which, most of the rebuild was during COVID. So that was really, really important. But our strength was running a professional services business, and we worked amazingly well together. In fact, we keep saying we'll miss being apart. We only had 2 years to do it, what we could have done together over a longer period of time. But it's been a very, I wouldn't say a passive involvement, but it feels passive. We're running our business. We catch up with them when we need to, regularly as possible. But they've really just, where they can influence and focus, they've helped us in a big way.
Okay. Were you always sort of building, a private equity group always needs an exit plan even when they enter. Yep. So obviously Quadrant was looking at an exit plan at some point, 3, 5, 7 years. Was that how you were thinking about it as well?
Yeah. And most importantly, we were telling our business about it. We said, I've got this notion in the way that I've run the business of choosing your own adventure. And we said to the business on day one, to our team, we're like, let's choose our own adventure. If we can hit these metrics, we've got a 3 to 5 year exit point. The closer to the 3 years we exit, the more of our adventure we get to choose. The closer to the 5 years, that's when Quadrant has to exit, more of their adventure that gets chosen. So we actually worked through that, and we got there even earlier and we chose the buyer. We went out there and we were very specific on what we wanted for the business in the next incarnation. And we are, as every single person in the business is really happy about it, because we chose that adventure for ourselves and we worked towards that. We knew if we got there in the 3 year timeframe, we could almost build, we'll take ARQ into NCS and it will be NCS ARQ into, in the business. And it's amazing. We can retain what we've built and we become their significant components in Australia.
Okay. I've got to take you back. You chose the buyer. How do you choose the buyer and get the price you want?
Yeah. So we knew the types of buyers that we wanted, and I've known NCS for a while. They're an amazing business with a very small footprint in Australia. And they're almost the equivalent of us, but in Singapore and in Asia. And I would say our dream, but our aspiration was to be part of a business that just wanted our Australian component to grow with and not kind of gobble us up into a bigger organisation. So we approached them initially, and we'd been having conversations over a period of time. But I kind of approached them and said, look, and worked with Quadrant on this too, and said, look, if we can get a competitive price, so the fair price for the business, off the people that we want to sell to, what would that look like? And it made it a lot more complicated than we would expect, but it worked really well. And that's why we were very happy. So we actually went out and said to them, look, we're going to run a process soon. How would you like to be involved in it?
And did you run the process? Did you have other potential buyers?
We had other potential buyers. We never ran a full competitive process in the end because we didn't need to. NCS put down a really good, fair price on the table on day one and said, look, this is what we can do if this all holds up. And we worked through all the semantics behind it, and it worked out really nicely. So they met the commercial, but we probably would have got the competitive process. There's been a lot of market sales and trade sales around, so we can compare to those. Yep. And in fact, what we didn't know was they were actually doing an acquisition of another business at the same time on a different part of technology to we are. So Very complementary, and just looking at their price goes to show that they are fair value. So we didn't need to run that process. But we were approached quite a bit by a lot of organisations who were interested to take us forward.
Clearly you have a business which is in demand. And so when that's the case, you kind of can pick your fun, you pick your adventure in a sense. So this was in March, this happened. What's next? How do you work out how to integrate the businesses, and My involvement in this sort of thing has always involved redundancies and finding the right jobs for the right people, retraining, all that sort of thing. Is that where you're up to now?
Actually, the opposite, because we're a booming business, putting on 20, 30 people a month minimum. So we're growing. So because we're the Australian component of their digital business, which is actually called Next, funnily enough. So we will continue to grow in Australia, and we'll just continue to retain that. But the one thing that's exciting is we'll actually get to put more people into global roles. So some of our team that, as these two businesses together will grow at an exponential rate, gives more opportunity to our staff to step up. So it just means probably hiring more people rather than the opposite. And when businesses integrate, typically they have 2 finance teams, they have 2 HR teams, they have 2 of everything, and then they have to make redundancies for that. Given that we're the only components in Australia that is that part of the business, the ARQ part of it, we don't have to do that at all. It's more the integration of looking at other parts of their business. They've bought a few businesses over the past, so we're going to integrate them into ARQ and into their business Next in Singapore and work that all together. So I like to think of it as a bit of a merger on those 2 businesses rather than an acquisition.
Yep.
Although they bought us, so it is the acquisition on that side of the business.
Yeah. Just in preparing for this discussion, you've spoken a bit recently about boomerang employees. It's a really interesting concept, businesses rehiring former workers, and that's happened at ARQ. Is that right? Why does that happen?
Yeah, so it's 2 parts to that. So during the COVID period particularly, a lot of people left, and we've heard a lot of market terms around the Great Resignation and people leaving and stuff. It was really, really easy to leave your job in the last 2 years. In the first year of COVID, because of job stability and everyone was worried about what would happen. And the second year, because once they got beyond that in digital tech, it was like there's this huge tech skill shortage, and how do people get other jobs? And everyone was in high demand. Like our business is in high demand, a lot of our people are as well. So what would happen is they could change jobs by literally just kind of signing on to a new company. You get a new laptop, a new T-shirt, a new hoodie, and you work on a similar account. So what we found is when people do that, they've done it for the money, and then they've come back and they've found that the grass isn't any greener, and that companies still have cultures, companies still have operating models and ways that they operate. And so we found that people have come back during that period particularly, and we call them boomerangs. We also encourage people sometimes to go and get different experience. So while we're really good at coding, if you work in financial services or you work in retail, right? If you're a retail expert in technology, there's nothing better than working, in the actual customer for a period of time. And sometimes you get that through consulting, and sometimes people physically want to work for that customer for a period of time. So they go out, they get this experience, and we welcome them back because they got more experience than they had before they left that we couldn't have given to them because it's a different type of experience. So we're finding it more and more so that people are leaving, and then they're coming back because they're attracted to what's important at the moment is culture, because you can get money anywhere. Now it's all about the cultural aspect of the business and what they stand for.
Can you find enough people at the moment, Tristan, given the skills shortage?
You can if you look in the right places. So what we do is we have a thing we call ARQ Academy, and ARQ Academy is about building up people who are either graduates, job reskillers, so they're re-entering into the market, or they've been an accountant, a lawyer. We've had construction workers. We even had, we came up for New Zealand government last year. We had people that were coming from working in scrapyards and farmers and stuff like that. So all different industries that have an ability to work in the tech space, because everyone does something technical nowadays. So we skill them up in a 10-week boot camp. So rather than trying to compete with the very, very skilled people that are pushing rates up considerably, we actually, last year we hired, I think, 50 of our own, and I think about 10 to 20 for our clients. This year we'll do about 60, and we've got a customer who's going to take about 100 on top of that. So we're actually training people like old school, kind of teaching them the skills in a boot camp and then getting them onto projects and working through that. That's how we find skills. A lot of people will complain about border shortage, closures and all that sort of stuff, attracting skills. Even with that opening, we're not going to get enough people unless we actually build the skills ourselves. So that's our unique approach to it.
Fantastic. Tristan, thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Pleasure.
That was Tristan Sternson, CEO of ARQ Group, ARQ. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.